Hello and welcome to the Django DRF project, eCommerce. This tutorial is part of a series of tutorials which you can watch for free. The link to the YouTube course playlist is in the video description. This course is also available on Udemy, where you can watch the course ad-free, download the tutorial source code, and access all updated tutorials and playlist. The link to the course, which will always provide the best price, can be found in the video description. So I'm assuming that you watched the previous two tutorials, coverage, HTML reporting, and the short introduction to unit and end-to-end testing. Maybe at this point you have a better understanding of what a unit test is, or what an end-to-end test is. And once you do develop your understanding of what these are, it can be easier to then identify what tests are actually required in a Django project. One of the benefits of utilizing Django, everything feels very modular in that we have built our models, we then developed our serializers, and then our views, and then our URL configuration or our router. So we've got some clear areas within our application. And each one of these aspects here, whether it be a model or a serializer or a view, they're all performing certain actions or they have certain outputs or outcomes. So we could probably break down each one of those components, everything that we've written so far, developed so far, and we can break that down to the unit, that particular unit which is performing that particular operation. So when considering what exactly to test, we could first of all categorize that. Remember the types of testing that we introduced in the previous tutorial, unit tests and end-to-end tests. And we could probably look at these different Django components, and we could probably then categorize and think about some tests that are needed and can be then converted into one of two types of tests we have here. So let's think of unit tests. So there are probably lots of unit tests that we can develop for models. We've already identified potentially that there is already a unit that needs to be tested within our models. So essentially any method or maybe custom managers that we've developed that have a different outcome or an expected outcome maybe that we've developed, then that's probably going to need to be tested as a unit test. We have URL configuration. So each URL has a specific outcome potentially. So potentially we would need to isolate those URLs and make sure that they perform accordingly. So we have views and view sets. So we know that a view set is essentially going to be a function or a class-based view, which is going to have inputs and outputs. So again, we could probably isolate those functions and check to make sure that they performed accordingly once more. And then last of all, we have serializers. So we created a serializer, and you saw how we can customize that serializer. In the case of what we've developed so far, we changed, for example, what fields can be serialized. So we can identify individual fields or a list of fields which can be utilized within that serializer. So again, we could isolate those serializers and then test them individually. So any function, class or method which we have developed which has an expected behavior or outcome can be tested potentially as a unit test. Now we've already discussed end-to-end testing in the previous tutorial, so we probably already know that we can now develop some end-to-end tests, and those tests will very much look like an API endpoint type of test. So we're going to test the API endpoints to ensure that they work correctly. So by doing so, we're creating an end-to-end test in that we're starting from the client. We're going to send a request to our API. That's going to then interact with all the systems and aspects of our application within our application. And then hopefully that's then going to return a result. And it's that result that we can then test to ensure that our system is working correctly.